Welcome. As your valuation advisor today, we're going to dive right into how to value your California environmental consulting firm. The goal? To get you the absolute maximum price when you decide to sell. And trust me, this is a hot market, so knowing your numbers is your ticket to a great exit. So let's just start with the sheer size of the opportunity here, because it is massive. This number, just a hair over $100 billion, that's the projection for California's environmental consulting market by 2035. That's the prize everyone is chasing. Now, what's really driving the excitement here is the engine behind that number. We are looking at a rock-solid 6.8% compound annual growth rate. You know, that kind of steady, predictable growth is like music to a buyer's ears. It's exactly why this market is so attractive right now.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the big valuation question. Then we'll look at the one test that buyers care about most. After that, we'll talk about de-risking your firm, and we'll wrap it all up with a step-by-step playbook you can use.
You know, the very first thing any potential buyer is going to ask is, so how are we valuing this firm? And in this world, that conversation almost always boils down to two different paths.
And this really gets to the heart of it. It's a fundamental difference in what a buyer is looking for. Are they buying your cash-generating engine, or are they buying your market share and your client list? The answer to that totally depends on who's sitting across the table.
This part is absolutely crucial. You have to know your audience. See, a strategic buyer, maybe a larger competitor, they want your revenue. They want to bolt your business onto theirs. But a financial buyer, like a private equity group, they're laser-focused on your cash flow.
Financial buyers just love the EBITDA multiple. Why? Because it cuts through all the noise from accounting choices and financing decisions and gives them a super clear picture of how profitable your core business really is and how much cash it can spit out.
So for a strong, well-run firm in California, you should definitely be thinking in this range. I mean, look at this example. With $2 million in EBITDA, we're talking a valuation between $10 and $16 million. That's a huge spread, and that gap, that's where you make your money by getting everything right. Now, what's the absolute top of the mountain look like? Well, check this out. This recent deal really set a benchmark. It shows you what's possible for a truly best-in-class company with an incredible reputation. Almost 11 times EBITDA. That's an absolutely exceptional result.
But then you have the other side of the coin, strategic buyers. They often lean this way, towards a revenue multiple. They're not just buying your profits today, they're buying your customers, your market presence, all stuff that can plug into their own bigger operation. And yeah, the multiple itself looks lower, 1 to 2 times. But look at the final value. For a company that's growing like a weed but hasn't totally dialed in its profit margins yet, this can be a much better way to be valued. It pays you for your growth potential.
Now, while EBITDA and revenue multiples are the two big ones, buyers will often use a third method to kind of triangulate the value. It's called the income approach, and it's all about forecasting your future cash flow. Think of it as another data point to make sure the final number is solid.
So that's the big question, right? What makes you a 5x EBITDA firm versus an 8x firm? What pushes you to the top of the range? Well, it almost always comes down to one really critical test.
So here it is, your backlog. A buyer looks at a durable, solid backlog, and what they see is a guaranteed stream of paychecks coming in the door after they buy the company. It takes a huge amount of risk off the table for them, and believe me, they will pay a big premium for that kind of certainty.
All right, so we know what pushes your valuation up. Now we got to flip the coin and talk about the common risks, the things that can pull your multiple and your final price tag way, way down.
When I work with clients, I tell them to focus on these 3 things first. Period. Why? Because these are the issues that can have the biggest, most painful impact on what a buyer is ultimately willing to pay.
First up is client concentration. If any single client makes up more than 15% of your revenue, buyers start to get really twitchy. The discount begins there. If you're over 25%, oh boy, you can expect a serious cut to your valuation, or for them to try and restructure the deal.
Okay, next is a big one, credential dependency. This is where a buyer believes that the real value of the company, its special licenses, its best client relationships, is all tied up with 1 or 2 key people. They get terrified that value will just walk right out the door when you leave. But here's the good news. You can absolutely fight back against this risk. You do it by building systems. You document everything, you spread the client love around the team, you basically prove to the buyer that the business itself is the asset, not any one person. And finally, especially here in California, you have liability exposure.
You should think of this one as a non-negotiable price cut. If you have a sloppy compliance record or some legal skeletons in the closet, a buyer will immediately chop down the price they're willing to pay.
All right, so now that we get it, the valuation methods, what drives value, what kills it, let's put this all together. Let's build a clear, actionable game plan to get your firm ready for a fantastic sale.
First things first, get your house in order. Seriously. Having all of these documents organized and ready to go before you even talk to a buyer, well, it sends a powerful message. It shows you're a pro, and it makes the whole process smoother and faster.
If you really want to move the needle on your selling price, these are your top 3 priorities for the next quarter. The audit proves your business is healthy. Recasting your financials shows a buyer the real earning power. And being upfront about any problems, that builds trust, which is priceless in a negotiation.
And really, if you take one thing away from all this, let it be this. It isn't just about growing your revenue. The single most powerful thing you can do to get a top-tier valuation is to systematically de-risk your business in the eyes of a buyer. That's the lever that commands a premium.